If you like to make your NFL games a little bit more interesting, you've come to the right place. It's the Even Money Podcast with Ross Tucker and Steve Fezzik.
Yeah, Vegas, baby, Vegas. It is the Even Money Betting Podcast, Part 2. The second episode, first time ever. We got props, we got parlays, we got line movement, and we've got the doc, Dr. Chao, with the latest injury news to give all of you guys the edge for this weekend. We'll get to Dr. Chao in a minute. I am Ross Tucker, the former NFL offensive lineman. We're recording this Thursday morning. I'll be doing the Eagles and the Cowboys tonight on the radio, Westwood One with Kevin Harlan. Sunday, I'm in the booth for the Cardinals and the Saints for CBS. So I got 2 of the 16 games this weekend I'll be on the call for. The star of this show is none other than Steve Fezzik. Listen, just see all of the documented public contests in which he's cashed. If you've ever been in one of those contests, you know how hard it is to do. He's done it over and over and over again. He is at Fezzik Sports. We got a bunch of new patrons this week because remember, any official bet that we make on the show, and maybe I can talk to Grades, our Australian sensation, about maybe putting the leans on the spreadsheet as well. Those are all published at patreon.com/RTmedia on our private Tuckhead Slack channel. So it's $10 a month. You can just do the 6 months of the season and then be done with it. Best $60 you'll ever spend getting all of our bets in black and white. Patreon.com/RTmedia. One shout out for the week, Mike Strelecki, all the way from England. I don't know if that's even how you pronounce it. He's one of our latest patrons. There's a bunch of other ones. Patreon.com/RTmedia. All right, Steve, let's start with the line movement because we can look at it right now before we get too far along. I noticed a couple of different line moves since Tuesday's show that we had bets on. One of them was I had the Giants getting 5.5. They're now up to 6. Any thoughts on why that might be?
No, because I think the Giants, if there's one consensus play, hey, in general, Ross, week 1, we like dogs and we like division dogs. This has been a profitable subset. So I did see some 5.5s earlier in the week, and now it's 6, and the public's going to like the favorites, but I can tell you, bold prediction, this line's going to close less than 6.
Why, how much of a difference is 5.5 versus 6?
6 is a pretty key number. It's worth about 8 cents a vigorish, I would say, meaning would I rather have +6 at -110 or +5.5 at -102? Those would be about equal. It's become worth more because teams, if they're down 14 late and they score in the NFL, they'll go for 2. For whatever reason, no one in college has gotten that memo. It's correct. So 6 and 8 have become more common and 7 a little less common in the NFL.
Really, really good point. Okay, here's the one, and this might relate to something that Dr. Chao says to us later in the show. Here's the one that's wild. Steve, am I wrong, or did you and I have a best bet on the Ravens +1.5 for Sunday night on Tuesday, and now the Ravens are laying 1.5? We've had 3 points of movement?
Yeah, so really it's 2 because I guess you can tie theoretically, but I don't count a movement through the 0 as being a point. But it's a great point that you've got to flip the favorites. And I really think Dr. Chow's going to nail this in terms of what's going on. Buffalo has some significant injury issues. Obviously, Baltimore, that 25-27 loss at the end of the year. So both teams are going to be sky high. But Baltimore wants to atone for that loss. So there's a lot of reasons why money's come on Baltimore, and I agree with it.
Got it. Well, and I'm happy about it. Man, you and I talk about closing line value. I mean, we'll see where it closes, but certainly we've already gotten folks a bunch of line value there. Those are the 2 that jumped out to me, Steve. Were there any other totals or line moves that you noticed?
Yeah, one more. So money is matriculating slowly in on the Atlanta Falcons. And I did see Tampa Bay's down to a 1.5 point favorite at DraftKings. And that number was pretty much 2.5 earlier in the week.
Got it. Well, that's interesting too, because I feel like a lot of times line movement is when there's new information. So I wonder if that will be an injury situation that Dr. Chao will talk about as well. We'll get to him momentarily. I did want to talk about one thing quickly. Since Tuesday's show, I got a bunch of emails and a bunch of tweets from people, Steve, saying, please don't stop giving out teaser legs. Please don't stop. I guess there are some offshore books where they can still get it, Steve, for minus 120. There's a book that's legalized in the United States for minus 125. So I feel like I'm going to continue to give out teaser legs, Steve, because, we're listening loud and clear to our audience. I'm also listening loud and clear to you that at minus 135, it's no longer a good bet. If I and or we give out teaser legs, how should grades grade us? I mean, we've been saying DraftKings the whole time because they're our sponsor, but do we stick with minus 120 because of the 5 people emailing me their offshore books? Or do we do the minus 125, which is available from one legalized book? Or do we stick with minus 135 and grades us like that?
I think you got to grade us at minus 120. It's a difficult question. I think you got to grade us at the minus 135, and I'm not going to win laying minus 135. So as much as I like this week, I like Denver in the teaser, the -8 down to the -2, and I like the Eagles -8 to -2, and I like Atlanta up to +7.5 or more. They just can't be official plays.
Yep, I had the Eagles, the Falcons, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Ravens when they were getting 1.5, and the Chicago Bears. I'm going to give teasers starting next week. I guess I won't make them official plays either, but you guys will at least give out the teaser legs because some of you have done very, very, I mean, that's how Steve and I have done very, very well. Speaking of very well, Dr. David Chao has done extremely well with the betting from his website, sportsinjurycentral.com. Let's bring him in, Steve, to get the latest injury information here on a Thursday. As promised, it is time to bring on my guy, Dr. David Chao. Okay, this guy was the team orthopedic surgeon for the Chargers for over 10 years, and he's been doing an unbelievable job, I don't know, almost 10 years now, I think now, for a while, breaking down NFL injuries based on the video. So you got to check it out at Pro Football Doc on social media, at SixScore, but the actual website is sixscore.com. It's short for Sports Injury Central, and it's unbelievable how many guys like Billy Walters and Steve Fezzik are using them now. They have won 56.5% of their bets based solely on the injury information. So how are we going to use Dr. Chao? Every week on this second episode, we're going to find out the injury situations that we need to know. Maybe I'll even ask Steve after this if he feels like those injury situations are baked into the lines already or not. But Dr. Chao is going to tell us the teams that really have issues that we need to be aware of and potentially fade those teams or at least be aware of it. Dr. Chao, so fired up for this segment every week on our new second Even Money episode that people can check out. Let's start with some teams that have had some rough injuries this training camp. The Miami Dolphins. I mean, Dr. Chao, every time I look, I think another cornerback goes down for them. What are you seeing about them? They're one of the teams that I know you got your eye on.
There's no question. We do the field views and six scores for the start of the season, and Miami comes in among the lower part. A good reason for that is, as you indicate, the secondary issues. Several cornerbacks and even safeties. At last count, about 5 of the top 8 guys had injury issues coming into the season. And remember, Jalen Phillips is still not there. Yes, they added Matthew Judon, but Ross, you're a football guy through and through. When's the last time you remember a defense changing their scheme in training camp? I get it. Most teams are hybrid 3-4-4-3s. They're not pure, but Miami's roster went from a 3-4 officially to a 4-3 during training camp. So there's even that adjustment period going on for the Dolphins. And then new players on the offensive line, and Achane with the calf issue that's likely to linger a little bit. So Miami is one of those teams out of the gate with some injury issues.
Ooh, I love it, Dr. Chao. That could be nice for Daniel Jones, maybe maybe some of the receivers or the tight end, Tyler Warren. Something to keep in mind for the Colts in their matchup against the Dolphins. What about the Bucks? Because it's interesting. I don't know that this is kind of going under the radar a little bit, Dr. Chao, but Tristan Wirfs, their best O-lineman, Chris Godwin. I don't know that this is baked into the line that they're without, two of their top, 5 to 10 best players?
You're right about that, Ross, and Steve will join and talk to us about what's baked in or not. But yeah, when a quarterback is out or a star player is out, it gets baked into the line. But, when you talk about cluster injuries or different spots or in the same position, it isn't always done that. And Tampa's issues, there's Chris Godwin is not ready to go, and McMillan with his back spine issue is out. Then Tristan Wirfs, their best offensive lineman, which then sets up a domino of who plays where and next, as you well know. It's not just the one spot, it's the dominoes that happen afterwards. And you could also argue there's some cornerback issues, but you could also argue there's a question mark of potentially their best player on defense. Vita Vea, first practice report, was out with a foot injury. We're hopeful that's just some vet rest type situation, but we got to follow that one too. So that one is very intriguing. As you say, multiple of their best players potentially out or not 100%.
Well, and how about this, Dr. Chao? The game of the weekend's probably the Bills and the Ravens, okay? The Bills' cornerback situation is bad. I mean, Maxwell Hairston, their first-round pick, is on IR. And then you can tell me what the issues are with Trey White and Benford, but I was on the radio in Buffalo. It sounds like their starting corner is either going to be Jamarcus Ingram or maybe 6th-round rookie Dorian Strong. This is these cluster injuries that you always talk about that become when there's a real issue, when you start to lose 2 or 3 guys at a position.
Well, not only that, when you lose your best guy at the position, Tre'Davious White, he's unlikely to play with a groin issue, and Benford with a soft tissue issue as well is trying to practice, but not 100%. And, cornerbacks out on an island that are not 100% traditionally don't do well. So it's not sure that he's going to play. And even if he does play, isn't necessarily 100%. And that's one to watch. And let me tell you, Ross, I love what you've been doing because I saw your Eagles-Cowboys breakdown, and I don't even know why you need me. I loved your injury breakdown in terms of what's happening there. And Trayvon Diggs is playing now. As you indicated, there was a medical issue on him. But I don't think he's going to be 100% from his offseason cartilage surgery. And if you really take that defensively for the Cowboys, I get it's not injury, but they don't have their best player on the defensive line, Micah Parsons. They don't have their best player at linebacker, Demarion Overshawn, and their best player, arguably, or a top player in the secondary, is not 100% either. And you touched on that already. I've seen all your stuff everywhere.
Well, thank you. Yes, Trayvon Diggs, that was a Jedi mind trick. He said, I'll be back by week 4 at the latest, and now he's playing tonight, which is bizarre to me, but...
and as you know, Ross, playing doesn't mean 100%, right?
That's exactly right. Listen, you guys got to check out sportsinjurycentral.com. They even have this guaranteed picks this year, where if you don't win with Sports Injury Central picks, you'll get a refund. Just go to check it out at sportsinjurycentral.com. Follow them on social media at Pro Football Doc, at Six Score. I'm going to dive into all these injury issues with Steve and what it means right after this. Thank you so much, Dr. Chao, for the time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
More great stuff right after this. All right, now that we got 2 shows for you every week, and we're giving out new bets like prop bets and parlays, you guys need to make sure your money's right. You need to make sure that you're not having extra expenses that you don't need to have, and that your bankroll can be as robust as possible. That's where my friends from Monarch come in. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Just use the code EVEN at monarchmoney.com in your browser, and you get half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code EVEN. Listen, we all know that there's just a lot going on. You have a lot of bills, you have a lot of recurring payments. You need an app. You need Monarch to help you with this thing. It's monarchmoney.com, code EVEN. All right, I got a new idea for Labatt here, okay? If you guys go to rewards.labattusa.com and you get any of the incredible merch they have, I have the fridge, the mini fridge, and I have the cooler backpack. If you get anything, I will send you a signed autograph in the mail. How awesome is that? Just go to rewards.labattusa.com. This is obviously after you buy some Labatt, you upload your receipt. That's how you get exclusive merch. It's the only way to get this merch, rewards.labattusa.com. But if you do this, if you buy beer and get gear and show me proof with an email to Ross at rosstucker.com, I just decide I'm sending you an autograph in the mail. Ross at rosstucker.com, rewards.labattusa.com. It's like a win, win, win. That was awesome. That was very, very helpful. And it's funny, I don't know, maybe we should talk to Dr. Chao before, Steve, we talk about the line movement, because I think he absolutely nailed it on the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Like, people are realizing, hey, these are significant injuries. You know, the Bucs are without 2 of their top 5 players, arguably. The Bills have cluster injuries at corner. They're going to have an unknown start at one of the corner spots and what that means for them. You know, I wonder, maybe for next week, Steve, we got to figure out from Dr. Chao when I guess he probably doesn't get this injury information necessarily until the injury report comes out, maybe, and maybe that's when some of this line movement occurred. Do you think?
Absolutely. So really midweek is when this news comes out. You know, I'm going to deviate from the script of I'm normally a guy just play straight bets. I know the listeners want to play parlays, right? So I'm going to give you an SIC parlay, 3-teamer, and I agree with all 3 sides. Indianapolis, Atlanta, and Baltimore. Play them in a 3-teamer recreationally, not for a huge bet, but the Dr. Chao 3-teamer, if you will.
All right, who was it again? Atlanta, Indy,
and Baltimore.
I love it. So this is a sports injury. Like, by the way, everybody knows this is our first time doing a second episode. We're just making this up as we go, okay? Like, I did not know that Steve was going to say that right now, but I'm writing it down because we like to take some of the clips and post them on social media. That is a juicy one. 3-team sportsinjurycentral.com parlay with the Falcons against the Bucs, the Colts against the Dolphins, and the Baltimore Ravens against the Buffalo Bills. You know, since you mentioned parlay, I love that, by the way, Steve. Before we get into props, since you mentioned parlays, okay, we have been very consistent on this show that, you know, parlays are not a great way to win. But you know what, Steve? I've had multiple friends tell me recently, multiple, in fact, 2 in August. Listen, I love even money. I listen to it. I want to bet parlays. He's like, I do $100 parlay every Sunday. I know it's not the best way to make the money or to win. I don't have the time for all that. I just want to have something on a bunch of games to be able to watch. I don't care if I lose the $100. It makes Sunday more fun watching the red zone. And if I hit, it's exciting. And watching the games, it's exciting. So we're going to give out at least one parlay every week here on the show. So we'll have an even money parlay bet for those of you that are like my buddy Neil, my buddy Jay, who have referenced this recently to me. The question, Steve, is how do we go about parlays? How many teams is the best parlay? And I had a bunch of bets on Tuesday's show. So how do I know which ones of those to parlay together?
Well, ideally, you would play something that's correlated, where if the first leg wins, then the second leg is more likely to win. So I'm going to give an example. I've cooked one up here. I'm going to say it's the Ben Johnson overrated parlay. All right. So Ben Johnson, obviously coach of the Bears, was a coordinator for Detroit. If Ben Johnson, who by all accounts is awesome, all right, but let's assume he's just good, all right. If he's just good, boom, then the Bears are still going to be the Bears and not be very good. And Detroit is still going to be that similar to the team that they were the juggernaut last year. So we're going to bet on Detroit and we're going to bet against Chicago. So Detroit plus 2.5, parlay to a bet against Chicago. So we're going to play Minnesota minus 122, 2-team parlay.
Okay, so I got it. So basically, as much as possible, you want to try to find things that are correlated, because then it's not like you're betting on two things. It's more like you're betting on just one thing.
Exactly. And what I'm betting on here is that Ben Johnson, nothing special. Now, if you disagree with me and you think he's great, you could flip it around and you could play Ben Johnson is God. And I'm going to bet on Green Bay because Detroit's going to be a lot worse. And I'm going to bet on Chicago because they're going to be a lot better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can do a Ben Johnson's the man parlay too. All right. By the way, did you say recently that a 3-team parlay is the ideal parlay from an odds perspective?
Yes.
A 3-game or 3-team?
Great question. So most books deal, if they're dealing minus 110 in each direction, most books, not all, but most, the 2-teamer only pays 13-5. You get short paid by a little bit. But the 3-teamer pays 6-1. You actually get paid a little bit better making that as a 3-teamer versus if you started with your money and did a mechanical parlay, bet the first team. Rolled over winnings, bet the second team. Rolled over the winnings, bet the third team. As it would turn out, if you started with 100, you'd wind up with $696 with the mechanical parlay. You get 700 back with the 3-teamer. So it's actually a better deal to play 3-team parlays at 6-1.
Got it. Okay, so 3-team parlays. All right, so got it. So now we got 2 parlays for you. The Sports Injury Central parlay, the Ben Johnson parlay. We did the injury info. We did the line movement. The last thing we promised, Steve, in the last 4 minutes or so here were some prop bets. Are there any of these based on what Chao said, or there are just other ideas that you had coming into today's show about potential prop bets that you like?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Dr. Chao, and he made a big case about how Buffalo's defense is compromised. So because of that, Baltimore's going to have a good game. If Baltimore has a good game, that means they should dominate the ball control during most of the game. So I want to fade the Bills. I also want to fade Josh Allen because he didn't play in the preseason. And any quarterback that doesn't play in the preseason tends to come out rusty. They tend to underperform, especially early in the game. So if Baltimore's dominating the game, has more time of possession early, Josh Allen's going to struggle to put up big numbers early in the game. But if the Bills are behind in the fourth quarter, it's going to be chucking the ball all over the place. So I'm going to play Josh Allen first half. Pass yards under 116.5.
Ooh, okay. You know what else is crazy about this, Steve? Because I was talking about this with Greg Cosell. This will air on tomorrow's Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Do you know that in the AFC divisional round, the Bills ran the crap out of the ball against the Ravens in that game? They dominated on the ground. I think for the game, Josh Allen had under 130 yards passing. Now, clearly, the Ravens will have a better plan to try to stop the run. And I think Josh Allen will end up having more than 130 passing yards in this game. But that seems like a really good number, the under 116. Because, by the way, there are also still some question marks as it relates to the the receivers for the Bills. We'll see. I think Shakir is going to play, but coming off the high ankle leaves a little bit to be desired. Any other prop bets, Steve, that we need to be aware of?
Similarly, the one quarterback that played the least in preseason and practiced the least, obviously, is Stafford. I know they're going to shoot him up, and he's going to be out there. I'm going to play him first half under 122.5, the rust factor for the Rams.
Okay, got it. So you're going to be doing the under for Stafford and the under for Allen, based a lot on the rust that you think will be in there. What about, if you think rust, what about going under on a team total for the Bills?
Spot on. And it turns out, and I'll give you all the teams, if you did nothing but play the team total and the quarterback pass yards for a team that didn't play their quarterback in preseason, that's been a big moneymaker. Here's the teams that qualify: Dallas, Philly, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Detroit, Los Angeles Rams, Baltimore, Buffalo.
Got it. Okay, well, that's good to know. All right, so here's what everybody needs to know. We got a bunch of different things. If you weren't keeping track earlier, Miami has an injury situation. Tampa Bay Buccaneers injury situation. Buffalo Bills, Dallas Cowboys. We didn't get into it, by the way, but Dr. Chao also said the Niners still have some injury issues. No Ayuk, their talented right guard. Puny has a knee. We'll see how McCaffrey comes back, although he thinks he's okay. Juwan Jennings has had a calf, but now they got this new deal. Maybe he's okay. We got a new deal. It's 2 shows every week, including today's show, line movement, props, parlays. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We are very welcome and open to feedback. He's at Fezzik Sports. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. Good luck, everybody. Hope you guys win some money.
Thanks for tuning in to Even Money. Make sure to also check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.